Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello everyone and welcome to your English class. In our lesson today, we'll take the first part from the expansion for the units 1, 2, 3 and 4. All you need for the lesson today is your books on the expansion part, a sheet of paper and a pen to take down your notes. So let's get started. On your books, page 62, the first exercise in here, rewrite the sentences as conditional. Conditional means that you will start the sentence with F. Here we're having two sentences, which are the example sentences. We lost the game. We didn't play well. You can refer to page 36 in your books for more information. How are we going to form a conditional? You will form a conditional starting with F, past perfect. Past perfect means had plus the past participle tense of the verb. The second clause is actually would have and the past participle tense of the verb. So would have done. Okay, now let's do the exercise. Number 1. Khalid had a car accident because he answered his cell phone. Let's form the conditional. If Khalid hadn't answered his cell phone, he wouldn't have had a car accident. You notice that we started with F, then the past perfect, then the result clause. At the beginning we will start with a comma, would have, and the past participle. My mother didn't know we were coming, so she didn't make any lunch. If my mother had known we were coming, she would have made lunch. Number 3. He didn't finish his homework because he went to see the football game. F. If he hadn't gone to the football game, he would have finished his homework. If he hadn't gone to the football match, he would have finished. How about Ahmed didn't greet his boss because he didn't see him? If Ahmed had seen his boss, he would have greeted him. Okay, the following. The same page, page 62, exercise B. Write the sentences to speculate about the situation. You can refer to page 22 for speculation. What do we use for speculation? We're using these modal verbs. If you are sure, I am pretty sure that this thing is happening, or it could be, we will use must. Less sure, possibility, you can use may or might. If you are sure that it is not impossible, so you will use can't or couldn't, based on the situation and your belief towards it. So let's do the exercise. You hear a noise in your house early in the morning. Can you speculate about the sound in here or the noise? I will say it could be the cat. It could be the TV. It must be, maybe, it must be the alarm. How about the second one? Your friend passed you by and didn't say hello. He didn't say hello to you. What is your expectation or predictions, guesses towards this one? He might not have seen me. Maybe haven't seen me. He must haven't recognized me. Someone rings the doorbell. He must be the mail carrier. Must be. I am expecting the mail carrier. He can't be my brother. My brother is now at work. The last one. The team looks sad as they are returning home from the baseball game. Coming back from the game and they were sad. Let's speculate. We will say they must have lost. They must have lost. They can't have won. They can't have won. Here, exercise C, the same page, page 62. Complete the story with the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. You will use the past simple or the past perfect. You can refer as well on page 22 for more information. When do we use this and when do we use that? When I woke up, my mom had called me. Let's put it on a timeline. Which one is old and which one is older? When I woke up, it happened maybe an hour ago, and my mom had called me 3 hours ago. So the past and older, we will use it this way. So we use the past perfect to express that something happened before another action in the past as well. What is the form? You will start with the pronoun, regardless of the pronoun, followed by had, then because it is a have, so it will be followed by the past participle tense of the verb, verb number 3. Let's try to use these verbs. When Detective Malcolm got to his apartment, he noticed that someone leave the door open before he came, had left. So noticed, before that, had left the door open. He knew that he locked the door when he went out. He had locked, then went out. As he entered the living room, he smelled something in the air. He smelled someone be there while he was out. Someone had been there. Someone must had been there before I came in, while he was out. And it can't be the cleaning person. It couldn't have been the cleaning person. Let's continue the story. It wasn't his day. He knew at once that someone broke into his apartment. Someone had broken before he came in. He moved quickly toward the bedroom. He moved. He heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom. He heard, because we're having a series of action. Malcolm opened the door and stared at the man who was laying in a robe in front of, on the floor of the bathroom. He stared. So he stared. Was he dead? And he will actually investigate about him. Also, page 63, report what people said. If you want to know more about reported speech, you can refer to page 50 in your books, the grammar lesson. How can we report speech? The first thing that you will start with an introduction. The introduction, whether it is a question or it is a statement. So we will say, he said, he asked, he told me, followed by a sentence form. If it is a sentence, you can skip this part. If it is a question, just change the order, and it is subject, verb, then object. Followed by, you will end it up changing the tense. Present will be past, and the past will be past perfect. Always go a tense backward. Let's do the exercise. Qasim to Hamid, I will meet you at 7 tomorrow. The speech is, I will meet you. So, let's report the speech. Qasim told Hamid that speech, so it is a statement, we will use that. He will into would meet him at 7. Is it tomorrow? The following day, the next day. 2. Mr. Jenkins to Mr. Taylor, an employee. You must arrive on time. He's giving him an instruction. Mr. Jenkins told the employee Taylor that he had to arrive on time. You can refer to your books. Must will be reported as had to. 3. Robert to his teacher. I didn't catch my usual bus. Did past into older past perfect. Robert told his teacher that he hadn't caught his usual bus. The customer to the salesperson. Here we're having a question. Notice, how can we report it? Does this jacket come in a bigger size? Yes, no question. The customer asked the salesperson if instead of the WH question word. In this place we will use if. The jacket does present came in bigger size, and it is a sentence. Notice that it is not does, it is the past which is did, and we will change the into a sentence form. Page 63. Imagine that you make contact with extraterrestrials. Write down 5 questions that you would ask the ETs, the extraterrestrial or aliens, any, let's say, any living thing that lives on other planets. So imagine that you will meet them. We will write down a question, then we will come up with the answer and we'll report both the question and the answer. The question will be, how fast can you travel? This is a question that I want to know from the ETs. Let's report this question. I asked how fast the extraterrestrial beings could travel. Here, can into could. And it is a question, so we will change it into a sentence. They will answer. They said that extraterrestrial beings could travel faster than the speed of light. They are very fast. Another question, how long do you live? Notice that we're having a do, it will turn into did and change the sentence, the verb. I asked how long they lived. Live into did live, then we will have lived. Then they said that they lived for hundreds of years in average. They lived. So the present into past, can into could, and the others. Okay. What should the person have done or said in the following situation? And here we're speaking about regrets, and you can refer to page 36 for more information. If we want to speak about regrets, what are you going to use? You will use should for something that you didn't do and you wish that you did, and shouldn't for something that you did and you wish that you didn't do. Should, then have, and always have, followed by the past participle tense of the verb, which is verb number 3. This one is actually to express regret. You feel sorry for doing or not doing. Let's look at the pictures and we will express regret. Here, someone was skateboarding, he fell down because he wasn't careful, he wasn't wearing the helmet or the knee pads. We will say, the boy should have worn knee pads. He should have worn knee pad, a cover on the knee. Should have worn. Also, he should have been more careful. He was not careful. He should have been more careful. How about the second picture? He went outside without his own umbrella and he got wet. Regret, we will say, the man should have taken his umbrella. Should have taken. He shouldn't have gone out without his umbrella. Another thing, let's look at this man. He went maybe to a restaurant, then he realized he doesn't have his wallet or he doesn't have the tickets. Maybe the tickets in here, the man should have remembered his tickets. Went to the cinema or maybe the museum without his tickets. He forgot them. Should have remembered his tickets. The man or he should have brought his tickets with him. He should have brought them. Always you remember should or shouldn't plus have and the past participle tense of the verb. Okay. Speaking about the ETs, and we said they are the aliens, any beings living in other planets. For us, they are imaginary things. What if you meet the ETs? What would you do? Imagine that you have met them. Would you ask them questions? Would you feel afraid of them? Or you will say, maybe I will ask them questions. Or I will leave them alone. I would think that I am imagining things. Imagine that we have met them. Have you ever heard of someone who had met any of the extraterrestrial beings, the ETs? I haven't heard, but let's read the story together. On page 64, scan through the text and answer the following questions. It's only scanning, just a general look without reading. What is the title for the text? The title usually on the first page, page 64, and you will find it larger font on the top. It is actually the War of the Words. Notice that all the words start with capital letters. the war of the words. Okay, what do the pictures show? Look at the whole thing, 64 and 65. What do the pictures show? We can see actually a radio, someone who is trying to tuning the radio, adjusting it. And another picture 4 looks like it is a spaceship. They are aliens. Looks like we're having extraterrestrial beings. Let's get to read together in here. The whole thing we're having actually 4 paragraphs. You're going to listen, and while you are listening, try to read to find out the main idea of the paragraph. Let's read the first paragraph together, and you will come up with what is the main idea of this paragraph. Let's listen.
The War of the Worlds. On October 30th, 1938, CBS Radio interrupted a live radio program to deliver an important announcement. It said that astronomers had detected blue flames shooting up from the surface of Mars. The broadcast returned to its program, but it was soon interrupted again. This time the news said that a strange meteor had fallen on a farm near Grover's Mill in New Jersey. And then CBS Radio switched over to continuous live coverage of the eerie scene around the meteor crash.
Okay, so what is the main idea in here? The whole thing, this paragraph talks about that there were a breaking news on the radio that they spoke about that we're having a spaceship that landed on Earth. Then they interrupted back again and they told that we're having a meteorite that hit planet Earth. So it is actually about radio breaking news about a meteor crash. They're speaking about something strange, something eerie. Eerie, it means strange. No one have ever met something unusual, something that is unusual. How about the following paragraph? Listen and tell what is the main idea in here.
As the event unfolded, the terrified audience discovered that the meteor was actually some kind of spaceship. The reporter on the scene described the emergence of an alien from the spacecraft. "Goodness! Something's wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake," he said, in an appropriately dramatic tone of voice. "Now it's another one, and another. They look like tentacles to me. There, I can see the thing's body. It's as large as a bear, and it glistens like wet leather. But that face, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent. The mouth is V-shaped with saliva dripping from its rimless lips that seem to quiver and pulsate. The thing is rising up. The crowd falls back. They've seen enough. This is the most extraordinary experience. I can't find words. I'm pulling this microphone with me as I talk. I'll have to stop the description until I've taken a new position. Hold on, will you please? I'll be back in a minute."
Okay, so what is the paragraph about? It talks about a description of the spaceship that landed and those aliens, or let's say those beings who came out of it. Not only one, we're having many of them, and they are moving like in a snake move, wiggling. They are different than human beings. So the main idea in here, a description of the aliens, how they look like. They were eerie, they were different, strange, and scary for people. Let's continue with the third paragraph. What is the main idea in this paragraph?
The alien Martian crawled back into the crater, but re-emerged soon afterwards in a gigantic three-legged death machine, and quickly killed the 7,000 armed soldiers surrounding the crater. Then it proceeded across the landscape, joined by other Martians, blasting people and objects with heat rays, while releasing a poisonous black gas against which gas masks proved useless.
So the main idea in here in this paragraph talking about the fight. We're having the aliens, they were fighting the humans in this in the scene with lasers. They got their own gases and people were frightening. There were blasts, like explosions everywhere. So this paragraph talks about the fight and what is happening between human beings and the ETs, how it happens. How about the last paragraph? Let's listen to it.
Listeners all over the United States began to panic. People filled the roads, hid in cellars, loaded guns, and even wrapped their heads in wet towels as protection from the Martians' poisonous gas. People desperately wanted to defend themselves against aliens. Although the radio broadcast had warned listeners 4 times that this was a dramatized version of H.G. Wells's story, The War of the Worlds, performed by Orson Welles and the Mercury Theatre, people simply ignored those announcements. However, by the time the night was over, most people had learned that they were actually listening to a radio play. The fact is that the broadcast had reached approximately 6 million people and had produced a huge national scare at a time of the growing tension and anxiety leading up to World War II.
So what is the main idea in here? It speaks at the beginning about people's reaction, how they went into cellars underneath the ground. They were trying to hide, as well as they were covering their heads from the gases and other things. Then they came up with their own guns trying to protect themselves from those aliens. So the main idea in here, people's reaction, and by the very end there is a reveal that it turned to be a radio play. So the whole thing, the whole scene wasn't real. It was only a radio play. The radio was presenting a play for them, as if it were a TV show. So it wasn't real. Okay, on page 65, here find the word in the reading that means. In paragraph number 1, can you find a word that means mysterious, frightening, unusual? When they said, CBS radio switched over to continuous live coverage of the eerie scene. So eerie, frightening, strange. Number 2, paragraph number 2, creature from another world, not human beings from other planets. They are actually the emergence of an alien. So aliens are creatures from another world. When they were describing the aliens' move, they said twisting and turning the body like a snake. How they were moving? They said something is wiggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. So, to wiggle. Number 4, find a word in paragraph number 3. Causing an explosion. It's actually blasting people and objects with heat rays. So it is actually to blast. Number 5, to talk about something dangerous that might happen. The presenter in the radio was talking about it. He was trying to warn. They had warned the listeners 4 times. So to talk about something that is dangerous is to warn people. Let's answer the questions, the same page. What did the broadcast first say about the meteor? What did the meteor turn out to be? At the beginning, at the end, you will find the answers. The broadcast first said that the meteor had fallen on a farm in New Jersey. Then by the very end, the meteor was actually a kind of spaceship. And it turned out that it is a radio play. Next, number 2, what was the alien like? You will find it in the 3rd paragraph, a description of the aliens. How do they look like? The alien had a body as large as a bear, and its body glistened like wet leather, so shiny. The alien's eyes were black and gleamed like a serpent. The alien's mouth was V-shaped and saliva dripping from it. So we're having it drips. And they were wiggling. 3. How did the Martians move on Earth? Their move. They moved in a machine with 3 legs. Their spaceship had 3 legs. Number 4. What weapons did they use? They blasted people and things with heat rays. So we're having heat rays. And released a poisonous black gas. So we have heat rays and black gas. Number 5. What was the listeners' reaction? How did the people react? Listeners were terrified. They panicked and they began to panic. They tried to defend themselves against the aliens. They thought that the radio report was real. They were doing everything to protect themselves. Last question. What would you have done if you had heard the news on the radio? Let's put ourselves on their situation, the listener's situation. I would have panicked. If I hadn't heard the warning that the broadcast wasn't real, I might have thought that the Martians were invading Earth, and I would have been scared. I would have panicked just like the way that they did. Okay, I guess that is it for the lesson today, and thank you so much for your time.